A little bit over a year ago, I was technically homeless. Now, I wasn't destitute and living on the street, but I didn't have a permanent address. I was constantly on the road for work and I was considering relocating, and I wanted to make sure I kept my flexibility. So rather than re sign my lease, I decided to go ahead, let my place go, put all my stuff into storage, and kind of live in the employer provided housing. If I had re signed my lease, I would have been locked in for at least another 6 months, and I didn't want to do that. So this was a pretty risky move because all the jobs I was taking were like between 3 days and 3 weeks. And if I was let go at any point during my employment, I would lose my actual housing and become officially homeless. Now, I did save a bit of money, but honestly, I eventually started to miss simple comforts like a bathtub, a stove, and the ability to fry an egg. These were things that I pretty much took for granted in my everyday life because they were the standard. It's not that I wasn't eating, it's just that I had to rely on restaurants or things that I could make in the microwave, like ramen and oatmeal. Because I was bouncing around so much, the post office would frequently update my address, and at one point it got so bad that one of my paychecks had gotten forwarded to one of my prior addresses. I had to drive around to different Airbnbs and hotels that I'd stayed at trying to figure out where my check had ended up. Not having a permanent address really started to wear on me, and it started to make my life quite difficult. In fact, something as simple as going to the gas station became a nightmare because you'd have to enter your zip code, and when I'm moving around that much in that short of a period of time, I was having difficulty figuring out which cards had which zip code attached to them because the post office was constantly updating my zip code because they were always receiving new information. I couldn't wait to settle down again, and I really started to appreciate the idea of clutter. Maybe clutter's the wrong word. Maybe it's comfort, options, the stuff you give up when you're down to the bare essentials. All things that I was familiar with, but never quite appreciated until now. Sucks? I've been setting this shot up for so long that the refrigerator just turned on. It didn't make any noise until about 4 seconds ago. You might remember the minimalism trend from like 2018, 2019. Everybody was just trying to get rid of all their stuff because simple living is better. And I wasn't 100% on board with that, but I definitely embraced some of those philosophies. Like I definitely was actively trying to keep as few things as possible. But it kind of got to the point where people were competing over who could have the most minimalistic look, wearing like the same color outfit every single day and, having just one cup and one plate. And that was just too much for me. But, every year I've tried to eliminate some extra stuff. But since starting over, I just don't have as much to get rid of this year. But there's still definitely things I can combine or use so they just don't take up all this extra space. Like some of these pots and pans, cheaper stuff, they were serviceable at the time, but I've since replaced a bunch of things with much nicer quality materials, things that are gonna definitely outlive me. So now I'm willing to let these go to somebody who can use them. Now, I cook a lot, but every once in a while I order some kind of DoorDash, Uber Eats situation, and they give you all these. Now, at first I would keep them. It's nice to have something to put some of these leftovers in. But there's just 2 people living here, so I don't need this much. And then, you kind of lose lids, and I just don't need this much. It's time to let some of this stuff go. It'll help me to better organize the cabinet and, have less lids to lose. Going through a divorce requires a lot of documentation, paperwork, receipts, audio, and video. And thankfully, vlogging taught me to document. So while I haven't accumulated a bunch of material things, I have acquired a significant amount of files which constantly require organizing. But the thing about vlogging is it takes all these random files and it puts it into a nice cohesive story that I get to enjoy. Now, of course, if you find yourself in my situation and you need these files in their entirety, yeah, it's not the same thing, but having some of it is definitely better than having none of it. And I think that whole what if mentality is the reason why a lot of us are so afraid to let things go. But now that all this is finally behind me, I'm able to start archiving these files, shredding this paperwork, and putting all of this in the past. The paper is actually the hardest part. I use this app called Genius Scan to quickly take photos of all my paper documents. It'll go ahead and convert them into PDF, and then it'll email them to me directly. At that point, I'm able to just shred all the paper, but then I can archive all that stuff electronically on my computer. But I do want to go through my clothes because some things have honestly gotten uncomfortable as they've aged. Like, it's super weird. I think it's just from being washed so much. At this point, my closet is down to just what I need for each season. Though I'd rather take my stuff to the tailor because it's so hard for me to find something I love. It just feels a little bit wasteful, but at the same time, I've got things like these jeans where I have tailored them twice. And at this point, I've spent more on getting these jeans tailored than I have on actually purchasing them. It just seems a little bit silly to have them tailored for a third time. Definitely embracing the quality over quantity. You know, if I have less things, but they're of higher quality, I think I'm okay with that. I used to always just be about saving a buck no matter what, but I'm starting to come around to the idea that when you buy cheap things, sometimes you just end up buying them again more frequently. And if you spent a little bit more money up front the first time, you wouldn't have to rebuy it. With limited space during a move like this, you really have to choose carefully about what you're able to bring with you. And, you know, because of that, everything that I have at this point has a real story. Like, everything that I have means something to me. After going through such a significant loss, you know, I've definitely reevaluated like what's important to me, what truly means a lot to me. And, you know, clothes, just, that's not it for me. You know, they've been good to me, but I gotta let them go. I bought these pots a couple months ago. They don't have any drainage, so I like the way they look, but I have no real usage for them. So definitely going to be getting rid of these. So I moved here with nothing. Pretty much if it didn't fit in my car, I couldn't bring it. And because of the limited space, obviously I had to make some tough decisions. The last place I was at, I was there for about 9 months. So I started to furnish it. Obviously I didn't want to get too deep into furnishing it, but I needed to be some sort of comfortable. So, you know, beds, TVs, toiletries, that kind of thing. But I didn't really spread out, didn't really do too much decorating. I wanted it to be just enough, but I think I'm at a place now where, at least geographically, I'm where I want to be, so I can start to spread out a bit. Before I moved, I had about 30 plants. I knew they weren't going to survive the move, so I unfortunately had to give them all away. And I knew that as soon as I arrived, that was going to be the first thing I did. I headed out to a local nursery, and on the way, I had to stop and get gas. As I'm pumping gas, I look over to the trash can and I see a styrofoam cup. And inside that cup is a plant. This plant, in fact. It wasn't completely dead, but there was no soil, there was no water, and it was just left in a garbage can. It just seemed so odd to me. Someone had just thrown it out like trash, and that's how I was feeling. This was clearly meant to be. I picked it up, went over, got some soil, got a new pot, replanted it, and I'm happy to say that it's starting to flourish. It's just really cool to see that something that was pretty much left for dead is now thriving. And that's what I want for myself. I want to thrive. Like, I'm not done yet. When we left, my son had to give up many of his favorite things. Stuff that at the time I would have argued was insignificant toys that he'd simply grow out of. But I've since learned it wasn't that simple. He still misses those toys, and while it may have just been stuff to me, that was his childhood. My logic was always just get rid of old things so you can make room for the new, but I didn't fully consider that sometimes the joy an item gives you is simply irreplaceable. Our homes are a reflection of who we are, or at least who we aspire to be, carefully curated to reflect our unique personality. So I look forward to building a new foundation, complete with all the clutter that life brings. A year ago, I lost everything in divorce, but one word changed it all: gratitude. I discovered this quote: "The more grateful you are, the more present you become." And it reminded me that gratitude is a practice, and I needed to get back in shape.
No, you're doing something with light.
Something with light?
Yeah.
I'm doing something better than something with light.
Okay, what are you doing with my airphone jack?
Today's the day.
Today's the day we what?
Today is the day we build. So the whole theme of the last video was basically like finally spreading out, making a home, getting comfortable. And one thing that I have been delaying doing for the last year has been building his ant farm. I was just tidying up and I was like, I'm tired of looking at this aquarium that I picked up. For how long have we been talking about this ant farm? A year?
Yes, years.
All right, we got the book. He's been doing the research, but I've just always been unsure when the right time to actually build it was. And I thought today we should start. Like, we should really get going building this thing. And
Here, how's your bacon?
Car agrees. It's not as good as the last time I recorded this, for sure. Is there a bird in there?
No, no eggs.
Let me see it. Oh, it looks just, let me see it.
Nothing. Here.
Looks just like TV. In the last year, he's had plenty of time to do research on the design for his ant farm, but it turns out he may not have thought this through. After we do that, then you just go buy a piece of plexiglass in here. And they'll cut it to the size you need it, and then you just screw it on.
Well, let's go find the thing we're gonna drill in, so we're gonna use.
That's okay, because the most important thing was just finally getting started. I had a pretty good idea within 5 minutes of entering the store that this wasn't going to work out as a long-term solution for the ants anyway. It's like spice cider?
Yeah, spice cider. This looks the best. Spice cider.
But it was more important to just have fun. I honestly just wanted to spend time with him doing whatever he wanted to do. And if we have to do it again later, so be it. It's easy to always want to give our children the answer, but life isn't always that simple. He has a lot more to learn than just the right way to do something. I started working with this client when some of these students were younger. I watched them progress over a few years, and it was incredibly rewarding. And one day they reached out, asked me to come by the studio. They had something for me, and they gave me these, which are handwritten letters of gratitude from all the students. Having someone do that for me completely changed my belief in myself. You are talented, you are loved, you are appreciated. We are so grateful for you. Thank you for believing in the vision and using your gifts to help others see it too. You have been a huge blessing to me, and I am forever grateful for you. You are such a hard worker with so much passion. You are so thoughtful. You are so thoughtful and intentional with your art form. You have been amazing to work with and always make me feel so safe. You are phenomenal at what you do and inspire me to go all in with my craft. Your work is incredible, and I know will you I can't read. And I know you will continue to do so many remarkable things, cheering you on all and all that you do. Oh my God. Thank you for pouring so much into all of us. We are so thankful for you and treasure you so much. I didn't want to cry. I did not want to cry. I also feel very blessed to have witnessed their community, for them to have let me in. I felt seen, I felt appreciated. I am forever grateful for that chapter in my story. We don't always tell people just how much they mean to us or what impact they're having on our lives. And the fact that they took time out of their day and did that for me, it was the first time that I thought about my level of gratitude and how I'm expressing it, if I'm expressing it, and all that I have to be thankful for. You know, I wasn't sharing what I was going through. I felt like I did a pretty good job of covering up, and I don't know why they chose that moment to give me these letters, but they were exactly what I needed. And I'm grateful that they were grateful for me. I'm sure there's somebody in your life that you're grateful for. And I just hope that you are expressing your gratitude towards them. When I was cleaning out my storage unit and throwing away things that, you know, had monetary value or things that I liked, I had to get rid of things that were redundant. I couldn't keep things that were only kind of important to me. But these letters, these letters, these are priceless. All right, so how is that? Yeah, okay, that is really nice. All right, so This whole idea of being grateful is so crazy because like I see things now that I just did not used to see. I've been telling myself that I don't have any gear, so I just been making the best with what I have, and I've been happy with what I've created so far. In order to move across the country, I had to get rid of all my lighting gear and everything. So I have natural light, or I have lamps, and that's fine. But I'd totally forgotten I have these 9-inch tubes that I bought, and they are kind of perfect. I'd originally bought like some of those cheap 1x1 panels off Amazon, you know, standard AC powered, 1x1 bi-color, fine. But you know, for what I was paying for them, I was just like, I'd rather just use regular light bulbs. So I returned them. But then I remembered I have 4 9-inch RGB tubes, which are battery powered. So this little fixture that I just put together is going to be so much nicer for shooting on the fly. Like I can change the configuration, so I can just use 2 of these if I only need 2, and then I can take out 2 and still have 2 additional lights. And again, it's battery powered, which is so much nicer than having to deal with cables or having somewhere to plug up a light, which means I can now shoot outside on location without spending any additional money. It's so easy for us to forget. No matter how little you think you have, you probably have more than you think. This has all not only been a great opportunity for me to appreciate what I have, but also a chance for me to find joy in so many small things. Now I would rather go out and find some vintage furniture and redo it, or, you know, cook some elaborate meal, or, you know, do something with my hands. Like, there's just something incredibly satisfying about using your hands, making something from nothing, and pushing your creativity. The practice of gratitude just, it doesn't end. It's something that you have to bring every single day, because there's always a moment when you can forget. And life has a way of humbling you or reminding you just how fragile things can be. So as you can see, we got the ant farm done, but with a caveat. It is not structurally sound or safe for ants to live in. It's not a real ant farm habitat. We got into the store. They definitely did not have the specific materials we needed, and what we ended up using makes this kind of unsafe. It looks like an ant farm, and it will serve as a prototype, but it's not really an ant farm. Still proud of the work we put into this, and we got all the materials that we're going to need in order to actually build a real ant farm going forward. It was great practice, it was great fun, and most importantly, I got to keep my word to my son. You know, it's not lost on me that many fathers who have gone through divorce don't get to spend as much time with their children as I do, and that is probably the single most important thing that I'm grateful for. And when you're co-parenting, you know, you're separated from your child at times, so it can be very difficult, and it does make you appreciate those moments that you do share. Seeing an empty fish tank that was supposed to be an ant farm every single day might be something that he struggles with. And he never said that, but, you know, it was important. Like, I could have just went out and bought a new ant farm, or we could have just, you know, did something completely different. I specifically wanted to finish the thing that we started, even if we end up doing something completely different in the future, because I want him to see that we started and finished, and I kept that promise to my son. I'm just grateful every time I get to put a smile on my kid's face. When you don't have that luxury, it's the only thing in life that matters. So this whole thing has become kind of meta. I originally started this video just wanting to tell a story about gratitude, and I've just been too busy with work to have the time to finish it. And then I think, how privileged am I to have that problem? During my divorce, I initially kept pretty quiet. I didn't want to say anything negative about my ex, and I didn't know where things were going, so I just kept to myself, withdrew, and hope no one would notice. It's probably one of the worst things I could have done. It only made things worse. It just made me feel isolated and alone, and eventually I had to let people in anyway. Time went on. I eventually had court dates and stuff, so I had to let people in, and because I had kept it to myself, everyone was pretty shocked. I think it was just my pride. I didn't want to admit failure, and I was embarrassed. Eventually I let people in because I had to, and everyone was supportive. My coworkers would cover for me when I was taking long phone calls, with my lawyer or having to go to court. My friends would offer me a couch to crash on when I was between jobs during that little time when I was homeless. And my family was there for me emotionally. They kept me going. They gave me the strength that I needed to just keep going. I got a therapist, and she encouraged me to just start opening up and being honest. And, I probably took it a little bit too far, and I would kind of just open up to even strangers. And the thing that surprised me most is that the more I would open up, the more they would immediately start sharing their own stories. People who I thought had everything together would just start giving me all of these intimate details of their personal life. And it made me wonder if we're all just putting up this facade, pretending to be perfect and hoping that no one notices. Now, I made that mistake in the past, and I'm done. Now I'm living in my truth, and it's just better. It's just better. My therapist encouraged me to join, these groups, and I would sit there with other guys who were going through a similar situation, and the details of their divorces made mine seem like pretty minuscule. So I'm grateful for my experience in marriage. I'm grateful for my ex-wife. I'm grateful for the wonderful child that she brought into my life. I'm grateful for the people who have been there for me. I'm grateful for this beautiful sunrise. I'm grateful for everything every day. And maybe you could say I lost everything in my divorce, but honestly, I am just way too busy focusing on all the things that I have to even notice. Gratitude is the acknowledgement of meaningful things in your life, as well as the recognition of the source of that goodness outside of yourself. It's been scientifically proven to make you more hopeful, happier, and generous. As humans, the more we see, the more we chase, and sometimes it's good to just acknowledge just how much we have. Now, I've chosen to embrace gratitude because what's the alternative? Be bitter? I find that taking just 5 minutes each morning to be grateful for things beyond my control keeps appreciation on my heart, so that when life inevitably throws a challenge at me, I don't become overwhelmed. It's seen for what it actually is. Just a small ripple in a sea of blessings.